Well, I'm not going to wait anymore. I was trying to start at 5:14 to get it to 5:05, but I missed it by a few seconds because I forgot to do the sound check. Anyway, good morning. Um, let's see, got to roll that up a little bit. I've been awake for a long time again. Not even 2:30 I woke up, and I've been awake ever since then. I got out of bed 15 minutes after I woke up, approximately, and I'm tired. I don't feel like sitting here till 5:55, and I wasn't ready at 4:44. So anyway, here goes. Kryon, Lee Carroll, speaks against people like me. That's the title for today, or actually for the 21st of July message. I have followed Lee Carroll and Kryon for around 20 years. I like him. I have agreed with much of what he has said. For those who don't know, Kryon is an entity Lee has been channeling since the late 1980s. Kryon tells us he has never been human. Yet in this message, and I give the link, the title of the message is Kryon, What's Next? In last half of 2014. He speaks against those of us who try to alert people about what is happening in our world and why we are enslaved by the system. He asks, how do other people look at you? Do they want to be with you? He says we are not helping, that the problems we are pointing out will self-correct. I call that wishful thinking, ignorance, and avoidance. It is running away from shadow issues. It is the darkest side of the light workers. It is New Age deception. Sorry, Kryon, I disagree with you. Who does your message serve? It's hard because I do have a lot of respect for Lee Carroll. And as I said, I've been listening to his message. He was one of the first channels that I ever came across, probably about 20 years ago. I mean, he had been channeling for some time before I discovered him, because I didn't really discover channeling until like 1993, maybe 92, 93, 94. In that time frame was when all of this was opening up to me. And I followed certain channels. Lee Carroll was one of the ones that I followed a lot. I respected him a lot. I felt he had a lot of integrity. I still feel that he has a lot of integrity. And I listened to another video maybe a couple of weeks ago of his, in which he said basically the same thing he said in this one. I can't find this particular video or title in his list of audio messages. I can't find it. Now, this that I posted is actually a YouTube video that doesn't show him, but it has the message with images going in the background. In any case, I haven't actually been following a whole lot of channeled messages as much in the last couple of years, since 2011 and 2012 came and went, and almost none of the predicted messages that were channeled came to pass. I mean, I chalked them up as pretty much being liars, not telling the truth. And certain channels like Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham, I mean, even though they say lots of good things, who does it serve? That's the question. Who does the message serve that we're not supposed to get entangled in so-called conspiracy theories? But they're even Lee Carroll and Kryon admitted that they're not theories. They're not conspiracy theories. It's the truth. Even Kryon in this message admitted that it's right. Now, who does it serve to try to encourage people to stop spreading the message? Who does that serve? He asks the question, has what you're doing brought peace on earth? He asked the two questions that I said in the blurb. How do other people look at you? Do they want to be with you? Well, if you've listened to me for any period of time, you know that I don't feel I get much support in my own metaphysical spiritual community. This has been true for a long time, and they look at me as being negative. I look at them as being complicit in the problems that are going on in the world because they refuse to look at the dark side. They refuse to look at the issues that we face. What's it going to take in America? Now, I shared a video on Facebook earlier this morning of a Israeli man giving a lecture in Denver a few months ago, in March, I think, of this year, in which he gave the revelation that his father actually is part of a training group training U.S. policemen how to use the tactics that the Israeli army and military are using against the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. In other words, extreme cruelty, no respect for human life, for property, or for anyone's rights. No respect at all. And our police forces are going to Israel to be trained by people like this man's dad. And he said their plan is to export their brutality to the United States. Now, is that what it's going to take for y'all to wake up? Kryon, who does it serve? By telling people basically, you're not serving the light. You're not bringing peace on earth by telling people what's going on in their world. Who is that serving, Kryon? I ask you, who is it serving? Is it serving the highest good of humanity? Are you bringing peace on earth by telling people to not pay attention to what's going on around them, to not pay attention to the shadow elements in our culture, in our society, and in our individual lives? Are you bringing peace on earth, Kryon? Wishful thinking that all of a sudden the corporations are going to change and they're going to start doing the right thing, and our governments are going to start honoring people's rights and doing good and bringing peace, that it's all of a sudden going to miraculously change just because we've stepped back and we've not called them on their shit? Come on, Kryon, give me a break. You've never been human yourself. You've admitted that through Lee Carroll. You have no clue what it is to be a human, and neither does any other angelic being who has never been in a human body and has never faced the issues that we face as human beings. So who are you, or who is anybody else, to tell us what we need to do to help bring reconciliation to the world and to help set the stage where we're shining light on things so that people wake up enough to understand what the problem is so that we can create solutions. We are powerful, powerful beings. We can create solutions, but not from a place of ignorance, only from a place of knowledge. Are you encouraging people to continue to stay in their new age bullshit and ignore the problems and avoid the issues that we face as humans, the political and the economic truths that we have to face in our world? Is that what you're trying to do, Kryon? Because I can't respect that attitude, because it's not serving the highest good as I see it. And you're not helping bring peace on earth when you're teaching avoidance, when you're teaching denial, when you're teaching escapism, of running away from the issues and not facing them square on. You and Abraham, Esther Hicks and Abraham, you and others, Bashar and others that don't have a clue what it's like here on earth from a human perspective. You don't have a clue. You're clueless by your own admission. You've never been human. So how can you advise humans? How can you give us insights as to what we're facing and tell us what we're supposed to be doing or not doing? How can you do that? How do you have the gall to do that when we are the ones that are facing the issues? We are the ones that have our lives at risk and put our lives on the line and put our freedom on the line and put to put everything that we have on the line. How are you serving the higher good by telling us that we're doing it wrong? I'm sorry. I have to disagree with you, Lee Carroll and Kryon and Esther Hicks and Abraham and Darryl Anka and Bashar and all the other channels that are out there that are telling us things to just Think positive thoughts and it will go away. This is New Age bullshit. This is New Age deception. And I'm not part of it. I'm not going to be part of it. I don't think it serves anyone except the elite establishment that has malevolent intent toward humanity and is biased toward domination and anti-life and anti-rights and anti-everything that's decent and loving and good and compassionate. I show compassion to the elite. I am willing to forgive them when, but only when and only if they repent. And I'm calling the elite establishment, the corporations, the governments to repentance. Because that's the only message they need to hear right now. And the only message the people need to hear is that until we stand up together, they're going to keep winning. They're going to keep winning. Unless there's some kind of a trigger change that shifts everything all of a sudden in human consciousness, and all of a sudden our DNA gets activated and we're able to see things that we weren't able to see before, then the road that we're going down is going to lead to much more destruction, much more cataclysm, many more of the things that we don't want, that we don't need, and it's not going to bring peace on earth. It's going to bring more bloodshed, more loss, more depravity, more violence, until we call people's attention to what's really going on. People will not wake up. Now somebody says, well, you can't give people something that they're not ready to hear. Well, what's it going to take till they're ready to hear? Is it going to take their neighbors or their family or themselves being abused by police, abused by soldiers, abused in our own countries, in our own nations, like they're being abused in Gaza, like they're being abused in Syria, like they're being abused in the Ukraine? What's it going to take? Where this cabal is still trying to create World War III. What's it going to take for people to wake up? What's it going to take? Kryon, you're not helping any, and you're not serving the highest good. You're not serving peace on earth by telling people to not warn other people what's going on. The watchman, the prophet, stands in the public square, as it were, and warns people what's going on. That's the role of the prophet. That's the role that I take. Am I a prophet? I don't know. It's a label. It's a word. I do know this. I'm not about profiting at the expense of others. I'm not about making dollars and making money off of the backs of the people and robbing the people by keeping them in ignorance. I'm about waking people up. And you're not doing that. You're encouraging people to stay asleep. And worse, you're chastising, even though you say you're not judging. You are judging those of us that have a mission to awaken the population of the world. And I'm sorry, Kryon. I think you're dead wrong. And I think you're serving the Antichrist. And I think you're not bringing peace on earth. You're only accelerating and making it easier for destruction to come. And I'm trying to avoid destruction. I'm trying to bring peace to the people by waking people up so that we can stand against the corporation, against the whole principle that the corporations are founded upon. And what is that principle? That principle is no responsibility, no accountability. That's the principle. And even governments are now passing laws that the police and the military, acting under orders, are not responsible. They cannot be made legally or lawfully liable for their actions. It's giving them an excuse to commit crimes against humanity and saying they will not be punished. Well, if common law courts are reinstituted across the globe, they will be punished, because common law courts base their whole thing on truth and common sense, not the BS crap that the admiralty courts have been pushing down our throats through the Roman law, through the ecclesiastical law of the Vatican, all over the planet. We've got to change that. We've got to bring back real law. We've got to push truth and justice for all people and hold all people accountable. Nobody hides behind the corporate veil. Nobody gets away with committing crimes against humanity and extorting value from people like the major corporations all do. We're in need of waking up. We're not in need of having people like you tell us to go back to sleep and that everything's going to take care of itself because of some magic formula. Well, I'd love there to be a magic formula. I'd love there to be a silver bullet. But until that silver bullet happens, until that magic formula is received by humanity and there's an actual change, I'm going to continue to stand in the marketplace, as it were, and I'm going to continue to warn people about what's really happening on the planet, about how our governments have deceived us, about how everything is deception. Everything that we've been taught is a lie. And I'm going to keep warning people. Those that hear will hear. Those that choose not to hear and hide their head in the sand or shove their head up their butts, well, that's what they're going to do. But I'm going to continue to warn people until the downfall of the corporations and the downfall of the governments that needs to occur in order for there to be any chance for peace, and in order for our rights to be restored without threat of violence as is occurring, as is happening all over the planet. That's all I'm going to share for today. And I'm sorry, Lee Carroll. I'm sorry. But I think you and Kryon are really wrong on this point. Thank you for listening. Namaste.